Vinaka Fiji, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM. Chiropractic has been controversial since its inception in 1895, when it began with the claim that 95% of all diseases are caused by displaced vertebrae. Chiropractors who subscribe to this theory manipulate the spine as a method of treatment for a host of organic conditions, an approach that has rightly been rejected by medical science. This is why the chiropractic profession has never received the full support of mainstream health care. Our guest today to defend this theory is highly qualified chiropractor Dr. Byron Cragun. Welcome to Speak Your Mind.
Hi, Louise.
It's good to have you.
I'm glad to be back.
Yes,
really.
exactly. Now, before we actually move on with the topic that I have just spoken about, what is chiropractic?
Chiropractors are GPs of natural medicine. They treat the spine. Of course, the spine controls every aspect of the body through its nervous system. Everyone knows that the nervous system is the controlling factors, and every organ is under the control of the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. And you have to address that part of a health issue in order to get a full spectrum of health. If an organ dysfunction is occurring because you have a spinal injury, well, correct that spinal injury so that the nervous system that emanates from that section of the spine that controls the organ gets what it needs to function properly. Okay, it's chiropractors are, well, what people in this country and other countries don't understand is the chiropractors are the sports medicine specialists, sports medicine rehabilitation specialists. They're the best.
Okay.
And what you don't know is that the head of the U.S. sports medicine rehabilitation for all U.S. Olympic teams since 1990 is somebody I went to school with. It's a chiropractor, not a medical doctor. Because the athletes demand, it doesn't mean we don't work together. One of my best friends is the orthopedic surgeon for the U.S. Winter Olympics. And when I tell him that the orthopedists don't use me at all here, well, that's kind of blows his mind a little bit, because I'll tell you a story that's going to come up about that. But, why wouldn't... No orthopedist in this country has ever sent me one patient. I've been here over 20 years, man.
Wow.
Okay?
Ooh.
What does that say? I can't even comment on it, okay?
But you still get people coming to see you, though.
Oh, sure. They come, but they should have been sent.
Long before?
Yes, sent by the medical doctor. But, they've been indoctrinated in ways that they don't even know. Their whole educational systems constructed and controlled by the pharmaceutical investment business, which is a disease management business. What does that say?
Get you going back for more
Yeah,
medicine?
and they're waking up, though. Man, they're waking up like crazy. They're going, like, one of my most famous sayings ever is by Mark Twain. And he says, it's easier to lie to somebody. It's easier to fool somebody than to convince them they've been fooled. And so this whole show is basically based on that concept, that construct, that we're all there. We've all been fooled. And sometimes our egos are so strong into what we believe, we don't realize we've been fooled, and we defend it.
Yes. You actually make people believe that what is not true is true.
And we're all human. We're all susceptible to that. But the problem is we're dealing with health and medicine and people's lives and pain and suffering. And it's time everybody wakes up to the fact that maybe they've been fooled. And I put 30 years of research into trying to get to a point where I can convince people they've been fooled. And it's not easy. So this show is really important for those people to get a chance to see it or hear it.
Yes.
It's not for me. It's the people that need this information.
Yes.
You have to have an understanding about health in order to make well-informed decisions.
Exactly. I mean, it takes a lot of study to become a chiropractor.
Oh, sure.
Yes. And I mean, you've very highly qualified, of course. And not only that, but it also incorporates nutrition as a very important part
Oh,
of
yeah.
your studies, doesn't it?
Oh, huge, huge. One of the reasons why chiropractic medicine was such a threat to the total control or domination of the pharmaceutical investment business is because chiropractic represented an umbrella for all different forms of medicine to be under, non-allopathic, non-drug medicine. You know, the homeopaths, naturopaths, the herbalists, all these people, acupuncturists, they huddled underneath the umbrella of chiropractic because they were the only other primary health care provider in the United States that was fully licensed, MDs and DCs. And they wanted to practice their trade, so they got their degrees, and they could do that under the chiropractic umbrella. And that's when the medical people, not the medical people, the pharmaceutical people, I have to, excuse me if I imply that it's the medical doctors, not them.
Yeah.
It's who controls the American medical system.
Yeah.
It's the pharmaceutical industry completely comprehensively. They write the policy, they write the curriculum, they control the hospitals, they have people working at the Food and Drug Administration. They have great influence on the Center for Disease Control. They have great influence on the World Health Organization. They're everywhere. And they control the media. So, you know, the stories could go on, but you'll never hear them simply because they get suppressed. And some of the stuff I'm going to tell today is related to that. And pardon me if I seem a little bit harsh at times, but I'm sorry. Being a nice guy doesn't get heard, okay? And I've been told that I can't really present subjects very well because I'm not a public speaker. You know, I'm just a regular guy just like you that happens to be in a profession that has had the crap kicked out of it. And I was one of the victims of that. So that's why I'm so adamant in my stand, because they saved my life. Why wouldn't I want to respect and
the work of chiropractic?
And my patients, they did the same way. When somebody says, oh, you know, something negative about chiropractic, I want them in their face. Okay?
Yes, that's good. Thank you very much, Dr. Byron. That's the way on Gold FM. This is Speak Your Mind. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. We have another interesting topic today, and it's with chiropractor Dr. Byron Cragun, who is just sharing with us his vast knowledge on doing chiropractic work, as well as in nutrition. He's very good as well. But, you know, I know that I just wanted to ask you about chiropractic. Friends have asked, are there any studies that have been done on it?
Yeah. We'll get to the diabetes issue after this. I just wanted to present that, you know, if we can.
Sure.
Again, on the first episode we did, I think it was 218, we talked about a trial that happened where the American Medical Hospital Association was convicted of conspiracy. They conspired to eliminate the chiropractic profession. And at the height of that 15-year period, they spent $500 million doing this. And the judge, there was a few testimonies on studies that were done by the American Medical AMA. And these studies were done specifically to show that chiropractic was not necessary. And that's the only reason, because they wanted to destroy the profession. So the one study was, and none of this was released. Now, why wasn't it released, you're going to ask? I'll answer that first. Well, the AMA was having a hard time getting their doctors to conform to their rules. They said, you can't tell us how to practice. Come on, you take a hike. I can send my patients to the chiropractor, Dr. Cragun, if I feel like it. None of your business. Well, they didn't like that because they were trying to kill the profession. So they had to figure out a way to get these guys under control. I know this is a repeat, but it's important. A lot of people haven't heard this. So they brilliant. They devised this plan where they're going to make a new ethics violation code. One ethics violation would be you can't associate with a cultist. The other, you can't associate with an unscientific person. And they put chiropractic under the unscientific category. Now, if somebody came to your office and said, I need a chiropractor, and you sent them to the chiropractor, well, guess what? You're busted. Your hospital privileges are revoked, and your license is suspended. And that doesn't take much for that rumor to spread throughout the field of medicine that there must be something to this chiropractor. Joe can't make his house payment, okay?
Right.
Serious stuff. So that washed up the referral business. And all doctors depend on referral for business. They thought that would crush chiropractic. Well, it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't.
It still started to, it was crippled, definitely crippled. But in this trial, they had testimony where the AMA had conducted research for a 3-year period in 2 major hospitals, orthopedic hospitals that deal with a lot of pain, okay?
Yeah.
And they had chiropractors, physiotherapists, and MDs at one hospital, and they had physios and MDs at the other. They wanted to compare.
Okay.
Well, when the results came in after 3 years, where the chiropractors were, the average hospital day was 7 days. Well, you don't know what that means. What it means is you got to compare it with the other one. Where the chiropractors weren't, the average hospital stay was 15 days. That's a considerable amount of time.
7 and 15.
And we're talking about orthopedic cases, which are usually severe pain situations. And, of course, a lot more money for hospital stays. That study was not released to any medical doctor, let alone chiropractors or physiotherapists. The physiotherapists should be our friends. We should be working together. Look what happens. 15 days, come on, we're into helping the patient.
I mean, the person's health is more important.
Who would keep that from anybody? Like
Exactly.
I said, I'll keep saying, who would keep that from you? I'm not going to answer that question. You have to answer it yourself. Okay, and the next one is one that will outrage you. We're talking about, this is serious stuff. Well, and the judge had a lot of comments on this in court. And they did a study on low back pain.
So it even went to court.
This was in the U.S. federal court during this. This was part of the court testimony where the AMA was convicted of conspiring to wipe out the chiropractors.
I see.
And we're talking about, we will do anything it takes, no matter how much money it takes, no matter what we have to do, no matter how long it takes. We will, and the judge quoted, we will eliminate chiropractic from North America and the rest of the world. Well, I don't know any medical doctor that if he knew that, he would be ashamed. So it's not the medical doctors. My friends are medical doctors all over the place. They just don't know. Okay?
Yes.
So this study was done on low back pain in pregnant women in the 3rd trimester. The most vulnerable person is that period of time. Okay, and just before they started the study, they decided they'd put chiropractic in there. Okay, and the judge stopped them and says, you put chiropractic in there because you were hoping they'd hurt these women and justify your persecution. She actually said that. Okay, and when the results came out after the 3-year study, the only form of any treatment of any kind that helped these women without side effects effectively was chiropractic. You know what? They kept that information from their doctors, that they should be sending every one of their low back pain pregnant women to the chiropractor. The judge says, could you please tell the courtroom what the risk of medicating a pregnant woman is? And she was pretty emphatic about it. She wasn't backing down, and they wouldn't answer her. And she said, I think everyone in the courtroom knows well what the risk of medicating a pregnant woman. There's women are going to go to the medicine cabinet. Her husband has a painkiller. He's going to take it.
Not
and you know what's going to happen, okay?
That's true. And then with the chiropractic, you don't use any medicine. It's just all natural.
Yeah, man.
No medication at all.
And it's if you know what you're doing, it's so routine. That doesn't mean it's easy. You have to know what you're doing, obviously.
Yes, because you have to get the training.
It's beautiful to see a lady that's in a lot of agony to walk out your door feeling really nice, okay? And that was kept away from all of us. I don't think chiropractors are even aware of some of these testimonies. And I think we should remember them, because if you don't remember your history, you will repeat it. There's no question about that. Look at history. You'll find out. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Byron Cragun. We'll be back soon on Speak Your Mind. Thank you for your company, and stay listening and watching. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. And our guest today, Dr. Byron Cragun, a chiropractor. And something really interesting as well is that you have something to say about diabetes, which happens to be, in the world, Fiji, our statistics, we've got the highest number of deaths. So can you tell us about your knowledge on diabetes, please, Dr. Cragun?
Well, we'll scratch the surface, okay? I want to get try and show people why it's there, where it came from, how did we get this point, like all conventional medicine, for instance, drug-related medicine, is a total failure. Okay, I don't care. You can't defend it. Cancer is increasing. Diabetes is increasing. Heart disease is increasing. It's all not slowing down, it's speeding up. So we have to look at things from another paradigm, another point of view. And this is what current research is putting together in diabetes. And in the last 10, 15 years, the things about understanding diabetes is completely changing. But if you went back to the early 1900s, you see that they had an idea about it back then, but they didn't get to complete it. And diabetes is, most people know it's a blood sugar problem.
Yes.
Type 1 diabetes, you have no insulin.
Right.
And insulin is responsible for getting food in the body. You eat food. As soon as the carbohydrates and proteins enter the bloodstream, insulin directs it to all the cells that need nutrition. Every cell in the body, every cell, has an insulin receptor, and that insulin attaches to that receptor and allows sugar to go in. And then sugar makes more carbohydrates. Mostly it makes fat. And that's where our energy comes from. Type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes is internal starvation. The cell doesn't get in enough food, so you just can't get it. There's no way. And so they get skinny and they die. But type 2 diabetes is not that way. You have too much insulin. And people are overweight, they're not skinny. And insulin sensitivity and insulin toxicity is the root cause of diabetes. And sugar is part of it, but you have to see that insulin, what happens is when, let's say you have somebody that insulin, okay, in 1970s, the sugar industry was studying the cause of heart disease. They wanted to find out whether it was sugar, had anything to do with it, or whether it was fat. Well, they found out it was sugar, but they didn't want to disclose that because they're the sugar industry, so they wanted to protect their own business. And so they threw the fat heart disease theory out there, and that took the brunt of it, and we accepted that as the heart disease problem was because of fat. It never was, never will be, is not the cause of heart disease.
What is the cause of heart disease then?
Well, the main one is deficiency in vitamin C.
Okay, great. Lovely. We've spoken about this before.
Yeah, just quickly, I'll go over it.
Yep.
Vitamin C is essential for the connective tissue of the body to hold itself together.
Yeah.
That's especially important around the arteries that have a high pressure system.
Okay.
When vitamin C is not there, the fibers start to crack a little bit, come apart, and that's dangerous. It sends a inflammatory message to the liver to make some bad cholesterol to patch the crack.
I see.
Year
Yeah,
after
that-
year
I
after
get
year
it.
after year until you have blocked arteries. And the drug industry wants you to think that it's the cholesterol because they make a cholesterol-lowering drug. It has nothing to do with it. Blaming the cop for the murder because he's at the scene of the crime, and you're the one that called him. Okay, so
That's really excellent information.
You need to get that to cut you in half. This is information that you need to accept as a reality, not a myth. So what happened is the American standards of health changed. They decided, well, we'll reduce the fat and increase the carbohydrates. They didn't say what kind of carbohydrates, pasta, sugar, didn't matter. Because carbohydrates are polysaccharides, monosaccharides, disaccharides. They're just sugars hooked together. So that and glycogen and things like that. So they reduced the fat and added all kinds of artificial fats, but they changed the pyramid around. And now you're eating 60%, 70% carbohydrates. You're told that was good for you. Well, these are refined carbohydrates. We're talking about pasta, white bread, whatever kind of bread, flour, everything that was and sugar. And all your processed food have sugar and refined stuff in them. As soon as that stuff enters the bloodstream, as soon as it enters your digestive system, guess what? The body changes it to blood sugar.
Okay.
Everything goes to blood sugar. And now, and this is a gradual increase. So here you've got your carbohydrates and refined carbohydrates increasing, and so is your insulin level to keep up with lowering the sugar, because insulin's responsible for lowering excess food. Insulin's job is to take the extra food and store it as fat and sugar, or glycogen.
I see.
And the other part we use to run the body, run the system. So some of it goes in storage, and when you don't eat, it comes out of storage, and you keep your body going. But the problem is, insulin's rising, right? As insulin rises, like any hormone, if you constantly increase the hormone, your body will get used to it, and it starts to resist it, like a drug.
Yes.
Cocaine. You take some cocaine, you're high, and if you keep taking it, you don't get so high.
Exactly.
You take one puff of cigarette and you almost pass out, but after a pack of them for the week, it's not the same effect. So what happened?
More and more.
Yeah, so what's happening is the insulin's going up, the sugar's kind of staying steady, so you don't really think you have diabetes yet, but your insulin's going up all the time, trying to keep the sugar down, okay? But the body's become insulin resistant.
Right, and that's what the cause of diabetes is.
That's one of the things. It's a bigger story than that.
Okay.
But you're developing insulin resistance. Your blood sugar, haven't manifested diabetes yet. But remember, insulin's responsible for food storage. The extra food, the extra sugar, gets shoved into fat.
I see.
So you'll see every diabetic starting to gain more and more and more weight, maybe 2 pounds a year, 3 pounds a year, until, at the end of 10 years, they're overweight, but now they're developing diabetes.
Like full-blown.
Full-blown diabetes, and well, now they have to take a sulfonylureal, a drug that makes the pancreas secrete more insulin.
With the drugs that they take.
Or metformin, which makes the cells more sensitive to the effects of insulin.
So that's like artificially controlling it.
Yeah, and that works for a while.
For a while, yes.
And then it gets more resistant. Now the pancreas can't put out enough. The liver starts to get fat, because what happens is insulin goes up, your food goes up, and the body, the insulin's trying to cram all this extra food into the liver. And it's not that the liver is insensitive to it. It's just it's become massively engorged with fat, and it can't take anymore.
Okay, we'll get back to that shortly, Doctor, on Speak Your Mind. Thank you for your company. We'll be back for more. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I hope you're enjoying the program as much as I am. We've got chiropractor Dr. Byron Cragun. Now, you gave a very good explanation about how the body works with insulin. But yes, you can carry on because I'm sure you might. We're waiting for the solution.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so everybody knows that the diet it's a dietary disease, and it's not a chronic progressive disease. We've got to shift that completely.
So you're not doomed.
You're not doomed. It's time to get a
irreversible.
little bit of joy and happiness in your life instead of doom, because it's not true. It's not. But you're told that, oh, you got it. You're going to get it. Next thing you're going to be on, insulin, and you're
Get probably one of your limbs amputated.
Yeah, yeah.
Awful,
So who
awful.
wants to have kidney dialysis? Who wants amputation? Who wants heart disease? Who wants to go blind?
No one.
Come on, nobody does. So, and it's getting worse. So it's time for a big shift in your awareness, and we've got to talk about what's causing it. So you already know that the diet, it's refined sugars is the main thing. And I'll tell you about.
Okay, so refined sugar that's in processed food, you said?
That's
we can
in
find it
processed food
there.
and
What else?
everything.
Everything, yeah.
But we're going to be talking about fructose or fructose, which is a sugar, and sucrose is table sugar, and sugar itself is a disaccharide. Di means two, and sugar means it has one glucose molecule and one fructose molecule. That's a disaccharide.
Okay.
And I'll talk about that later. But the insulin gradually goes up. We're loading ourselves with all these refined products, and insulin's doing its job, but our body's becoming insensitive to the effects of it. And because it's insensitive, more sugar is there, and the liver, the pancreas tries to give it more insulin. So we've got insulin resistance, and that's causing more insulin to be produced, which causes more insulin resistance, until finally it's to the point where the pancreas starts to give out. But the pancreas gives out for a couple of reasons. One, I remember I told you the liver is responsible for storing all the extra fat. Sure, you're going to get it on your body too, but the liver is the primary place, and it stores and stores and stores until it can't hold anymore.
I see.
It's like Dr. Fong said, it's like you got a train full of people, and it's full of sugar, full of fat, because the sugar is transformed into fat, and you want to stuff more in. So what do? You get more insulin, guys, to stuff more in, and it starts to leak out. Fat comes out, and it can't hold anymore, and it starts to roll over into the pancreas. The pancreas gets infiltrated with fat, and the beta cells of the pancreas that produce insulin, they become engorged with fat, and they stop producing insulin.
I see.
Doesn't mean it's dead.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
getting it, yes.
Okay, so what you do is, eventually it can't hold anymore, and you're going to die because all the sugar's all over the place. You're going to go blind and all these things. So what do you do to stop that from happening?
Oh, I'm waiting for that.
Okay, well, the primary cause is refined sugar,
Okay.
glucose and fructose. Now catch this. Glucose is half the molecule. You take 1 pound of sugar, half of it is glucose, the other half is fructose. Now, every cell of the body can use glucose, every cell. But no cell except the liver cell can use fructose.
I see.
So you've got this massive amount of sugar coming in. It's distributed everywhere, but you got the equivalent amount plus glucose in this form of fructose, and the only thing the liver can do with that is convert it into fat.
I see.
So the liver's getting massively fat. It's getting all this stuff, and it's not distributed like glucose is. It's just getting massively fat, and it's going into all the organs of the viscera. And that's why you see most diabetics, they start with a visceral adiposity, and the belly gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
And now how are you going to stop that? Well, stop doing what's causing it. What's that? Eliminate sugar. Eliminate fructose.
So
It's in
table sugar you're talking
yeah,
about?
table sugar.
That's the one that's been processed
That's
from
in
the sugar cane.
that's table sugar. It's in everything, all the food additives. And fructose, a lot of people in science will say, well, fructose is okay. It's not okay. It's 20 times worse than glucose because glucose can be distributed to the whole body. Fructose has to be processed and stored as fat in the liver. And it
Okay.
can't handle it anymore. And when it spills over into the pancreas stops functioning. And what you do is like bariatric surgery, okay? You cut the stomach out, part of it out, and in 2 weeks, guess what happens? The pancreas starts producing insulin again. It never was dead. It was just so full of fat because the first thing that leaves you when you can't eat is the fat around the organs. Okay, the liver starts, the insulin resistance goes down because you're not constantly engorging it anymore, and your body can deal with it. So, you got to eliminate the fructose and the glucose because it's 20 times worse, but it doesn't raise your glucose level, see? Fructose doesn't. It doesn't raise your insulin level either. It doesn't affect it. It just affects the liver.
Okay.
And the liver's the main item.
Okay, so if we can't take sugar, I mean, it's just a matter of taste, I suppose.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, you get soon used to something if you do it long enough. So if you leave sugar, I mean, don't have sugar in your tea. That's what you say.
Yeah,
in
man.
coffee. How can we eat cakes? Because I
Well,
love
you
sweet
get
things.
some sativa, or whatever they call it, some artificial stuff. Not artificial, it's natural sweetener.
Okay, natural sweetener. What about honey?
Honey is pretty not okay too for a diabetic.
Really, it's too sweet.
Yeah, it's sugar.
Yeah.
So the diabetic has to break the habit and at least not consume. People ask me, well, Chinese they eat carbohydrates all the time.
Okay.
I said, yeah, but they're not refined carbohydrates. They're white rice and whatever these dalo. It has fiber and stuff in it, and it doesn't change into blood sugar as soon as you eat it.
Okay.
And
So you were saying the worst type of sugar if you're a diabetic is the one that we have,
Yeah.
The refined sugar.
and look what they have: high fructose corn syrup and everything.
Yeah.
It's sweeter, it's cheaper, and it doesn't raise your blood glucose, but it's 20 times worse on your diabetes and obesity because the liver is the only place that can store it. It gets out of control.
Man, that means sugar is really
Yeah,
bad for you.
yeah.
I mean, it could get you to be a diabetic, and then when you get it, it can even cause death.
Yeah, and remember, it's a grow 10 to 15 years before you develop diabetes. But during that period of time, the increased insulin is causing you to be fat. And as soon as you have diabetes, they start giving you insulin, you will get fatter because insulin drives all the extra food into fat storage. And there's no way you can get that fat storage out. So how do you cure it?
How?
Stop eating.
Stop?
Yeah. Intermittent fasting, different levels of fasting. And it doesn't cost you anything. You have to have the...
So when you say intermittent fasting, that's like miss a lunch or...
Okay, let's say, here's what I recommend. I
Okay.
to my patients. You're my patient too. But,
Okay.
But stop eating at 6.
Okay, right. Close your dinner at 6 in the evening. Like have dinner before
and
6.
don't break your fast early. Breakfast,
Okay.
because once you're sleeping, you've used up all your energy. Now the insulin level drops, and guess what you use to keep yourself alive? The fat stores open up, and you're using the fat during your sleep. So the longer you stay that way, you're naturally going to be hungry. Because your habits are that. But you go until 9 o'clock before you have your next meal. The next day you do 10 o'clock. Then next day, and try to go until 12. So you have that fasting period because the insulin levels are down, the sensitivity of the insulin's decreasing, and you're able to use your fat stores. You're not going to be hungry because how could you be hungry if you have this immense storage of fuel?
Yes, I get it. Yes.
I never forget the guy told me, the guy that went the longest, this is a scientific documented thing. The guy weighs 550 pounds. He's the longest in history to fast on water.
Okay, so that's
That
pretty good. Fast on
was
water. That's a
200, 300 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. Okay, and we're told, oh, by the way, if you fast, there's also a social pressure with people don't understand what a fast is. But the world, 500 million people fast all the time. Didn't hurt. But what the thing is, they say, oh, you're going to lose your muscle mass, you're going to digest. That's not even true.
Nonsense.
That's not even true at all. You're not going to use your muscle mass. I did a fast 30 years ago. I was a biochemistry.
Okay, tell me how you did your fast very quickly because we've run out of time.
I was a biochemistry student. I was studying the fasting and stuff in the biochemistry, and I said, I'm going to decide I'm going to go on a 10-day fast.
Okay.
Just water. And the first couple of days were difficult.
Okay, just water, but then you eat.
Just water.
What time do you eat?
I don't.
At all?
No.
For 6 days you just drink water?
Okay.
No dinner, no breakfast?
Nothing,
Oh, I'd like to try that.
That was tough. Let me finish this because it's important.
Okay.
By the third day, I wasn't hungry anymore. And my mind was as clear as you can. I've never been so clear in my mind in my life. And I was so strong and fast, and it just continued that way. But I had, it was amazing. I was blown away. I had no hunger. I had all the energy. I was smart, quick, and finally I had to stop it because I had social engagements. Come on, I have people that were sitting around the dinner table, and what a bore.
But I mean, that's good. I mean, that's the benefits of fasting.
Yeah, I'm not saying
it'll just fix up your internal structure. I suppose,
I'm not saying that everybody can do it, but certainly if I was dying from obesity and diabetes, I'd be willing to try. I would get my medical doctor, and I'd say, "Can you help me on this?
Yeah.
Check my medication. Make sure that I'm okay. Get him into it with you.
Right.
Okay." He can help you.
On Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. And we have chiropractor Dr. Byron Cragun, who's been nice enough to explain to us that diabetes is not a death sentence. And you've just been saying that how fasting is good, which is pretty interesting.
It's a very, very important thing that people, like I said, 3 billion people, they fast all the time, religious fast, LDS fast,
Yes.
once a month. The Muslims fast, Hindus fast, and they have their forms of fasting, but and the reasons for fasting, there can be spiritual reasons, there can be physical health reasons. I'm more into the spiritual and physical health part because I know that if you fast and get healthier, you're going to be happy. Healthy people are happy people. Unhealthy people are very unhappy.
Absolutely.
And they're so hopeless. And that's where the hopelessness and helplessness of the conventional medicine just sucks, man. It's what can I say? I'm appealing to all my brothers and sisters in medicine. Listen, man, just because I'm a chiropractor doesn't mean I'm not Martin Luther King in the South. I deserve to come into the restaurant anytime I want because you're not better. We're all equals here. And we have to start realizing that we've been lied to. Like I said at the beginning, it's like Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool somebody than it is to convince them they've been fooled. And no smart person wants to feel like he's been fooled because they base maybe their profession on that, a false premise.
Yeah, that thing seems to me like pride, the way it sounds.
And when you get into the next time we talk, we'll talk about different issues that have to do with how we've been fooled over the years, and I might even give a history of medicine from the 1900s right on up. So you can really see how we've been manipulated into accepting
Yes.
the misery and the crappy science and conventional medicine as it is. It's just terrible. And any medical doctor knows that, but he's almost helpless to fight the restrictions he has on his associations. Say, you will practice this way. You won't associate. And this is how you're going to treat cancer, and this is how you're going to treat this. And if you break the rules, we'll punish you.
All right, then, Dr. Cragun, we'll definitely get back together sometime soon on Speak Your Mind. But thank you so much for coming in to the studio today. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't worry, we'll get Dr. Cragun to appear more often and give us great health tips. On Gold FM, Speak Your Mind. We'll catch you next week. Nisamo Demanda.